Very good. So I want to once again take this opportunity to welcome all of you to today's program. Today's program is focusing on women in politics in the Mano River area. And it's a very important topic that I believe that each and every one of us here may some way, somehow be very passionate about the subject of politics and the role of women on the subject matter. But before we dive into the program outline for today and for few housekeeping, I first of all think that it's important to introduce myself to this group. My name is Professor Samuel Jacobs-Abbey. I am the Executive Director at the Jacobs-Abbey Global Institute for Leadership Studies, based in Washington, D.C. area in the United States. Richelle and I have been working for God knows how many years. We were together during the days of West Africa Youth Network, all the way back in Sierra Leone. And so we've been working together for a very, very, very long time. And so I'm super excited that our institute is partnering with Richelle and his organization, as well as other partners to make this feasible. I don't want to cause any protocol blunder, so that's why I'm hesitant in introducing the partners. I will wait once Richelle joins us. He will do that very well, so that he will be able to introduce the rest of the partners of this program and any other thing that needs to be introduced with. But just for the purpose of timing, I want us to move forward. And so without wasting much time, we all know the purpose of the gathering. The purpose is to have an open interaction, open discussion with regards to the subject matter on women participation in politics in the Mano River Union. All of us here will understand and appreciate the fact that the Mano River Union has gone through some challenging moments in the years past, and as well as the West African region in itself. We can even go deeper to the African region and the challenges that the region has faced as far as participatory in politics is concerned. It is generally perceived that politics is a masculine thing, and the men usually take the upper front when it comes to the issue of participation in politics. But over the course of the years, these narratives have changed. It has changed drastically because we've seen women who have engaged politically, and they have engaged so well to the extent that their leadership can be testified or appreciated or recognized across the globe. In Africa, we can talk about powerful women who have assumed the role of leadership, and we've seen how powerful they are and how excellent they have handled themselves. So guys, as I promised you, I said whenever Richelle joins us, wherever I am, I'll take a pause. I'll hand over the mantle to him so that he will coordinate this program. I'm happy to mention that Richelle, Alison have joined us, and Richelle, I will hand over to you. We are just starting. I was doing some quick introduction to hold forth. So please, over to you. Take us through the entire process of the program. Thank you, Richelle. Hey, you are muted. You want to unmute yourself, Richelle?
Hello, is it okay now?
Yes, we can hear you, yes.
Yeah, first of all, let me apologize for coming on late. I had an incident in my office where one of my assistants had a heart attack. And so I had to administer some level of first aid. I'm happy and I'm pleased to report that he's okay now, and I'm happy to join you guys. So, Sammy, let me say thank you very much for taking off your time of your busy schedule to coordinate in my absence. I'm happy to be a part and parcel of this meeting. Um, I don't know if you have actually started, or I can go ahead with the introduction of the program.
Yes, go ahead with the introduction, please.
Okay, so my name is Richard Allison, and I work with the Center for Security Studies and Development. The Center of Security Studies and Development is an organization that was established in 2014 to work to ensure that the security sector is accountable to the people. And one of our many programs that we have worked on is the issue of women participation in politics and in election. We decided to organize this meeting because over the last few years, we realized that the issue of women political participation has been a major issue across the globe and in the Mano River Union in particular. The Mano River Union actually is a grouping of Liberia, Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Ivory Coast. And over the last few years, women in these countries has been very active in the various peace processes. Unfortunately, this level of activism has not been able to transform into more gains for women as it relates to their political participation. In 2005, you all remember Liberia elected for the very first time in the history of Africa the first female president in person of President Salif. And the election of President Salif signified a new beginning for women political participation. Unfortunately, her election, in as much as it was heralded around the world as being a plus for women political participation, her election has not been able to transform the political spectrum of the political field. So we saw that in 2015, in 2005, when more women were elected to the House of Representatives and the House of Senate, or the Parliament, as you call it in other parts of the world, uh, in 2015, in 2011, during the next election, there was a slight decline in the number of women that were elected to parliament. In 2017, during the last election, there was also a decline in the number of women that were elected in parliament. And the same thing happened in Sierra Leone, the same thing happened in Ivory Coast, the same thing happened in Guinea. Liberia presently occupy 163, on the global parliament of female, the global female parliament. Out of 185, Liberia ranking is 163. In Sierra Leone, out of 185, their ranking is 157. So we feel there should be a more holistic approach to the issue of women participation. We believe there should be a more a genuine approach and not just a slogan. Across West Africa, most of these political parties have adopted what you call the women wings of political parties. But have these women wings been able to transform women participation? I like to say, how can we get women from the stand as spectators to the pitch as active player in women political participation? And this dialogue come at a time when Liberia is expected to have an election in October, on October 10th this year. Sierra Leone is also will be having an election on the 24th of June. And I'm happy that we have an MP from the Sierra Leonean Parliament who have taken time off a extremely busy campaign period to be a part of this meeting, in person your Honorable Rebecca Kamara. So this is the backdrop for which we decided to have this meeting. And I would like to say, as part of this meeting, Honorable Rebecca Kamara, who I have known since 2011, she got elected to the Sierra Leonean Parliament in 2017, representing Connaught District, will be giving our major presentation. And after Rebecca Kamara, we also will have some contribution from Dr. Sarah Barrett. I hope I pronounced the name well, who is the executive director for the Center of Constitutional Governance in Uganda. We're also going to have a presentation by Anthony Pamidia Do Peve, who is a commissioner at the Independent Human Rights Commission in Liberia. And also we have on the panelists as a member, I don't think I will pronounce the name well, but her last name is Duby. I mean, it reminds me of Lucky Duby. She's from South Africa, I believe, and she's a member of the International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance. So distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say that we are happy to have all of you here. And I see that Rebecca Camaro, Honorable Rebecca Camaro, who had to leave her campaign trail to be a part and parcel of this process, already joined us. And I would like to introduce to you Honorable Rebecca Camaro, a member of Parliament of Sierra Leone. She has been a member of Parliament since 2018, sorry. And Rebecca, is over to you. She actually, let me just say, she's going to speak to us looking at the issue of strengthening women political participation in West Africa, but from the Sierra Leone perspective. So, Rebecca, are you getting me?
She's muted. Rebecca, you can unmute yourself.
Okay.
Great.
Sorry. You know, as you can see, I'm just coming from a very big meeting with women. My campaign is on seriously in Sierra Leone. So I left the meeting just to attend this particular all-important webinar. And as you can hear my voice, I've been talking for the past 2 weeks, non-stop. Only sleep will take me off my talking, you know. But I am happy to be part of this particular webinar meeting. And I believe whatever we are presenting here will be useful to all of us. I am also learning, I'm still learning. Although here I'm a politician going for my second term, but I always say there are a lot of things I still have to learn, and I will learn from others here, whilst I share my own views, my Sierra Leonean views with you as to how I'll do my presentation. If I could start, my presentation will be in 4 folds. I'll be giving you the background, the social cost of women's participation, the institutional cost of women's participation, the financial cost of women's participation. Yes, are we all set?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Can I go ahead?
Yeah, yes, yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah, starting with the background, women constitute 52% of our national population in Sierra Leone, yet they continue to bear a disproportionate burden of inequality in governance and other sectors in our country. That is, women are not much in the different sectors in governance in my country, Sierra Leone. Economic and social system disadvantage women also. A staggering 84% of rural and 63% of women operate in, sorry, I've been having obstruction. I'm using my cell phone. As I said, over 80% of rural women are multidimensionally poor. At least 70% of all women, Sierra Leonean women, have experienced gender-based violence. That is, they have been beaten by men, they have been sexually abused, they have been raped, you know, especially during the 10-year-old war. It happens during that time. And also there are still steepy hills to climb, but forces urging women on are strengthening, and victory is in sight. Women invention of women empowerment, supporting women capacity building, that has helped the development of women. Women representation has been deficient. Currently, women constitute only 12.4% of parliamentarians, 18 of local councillors, and 6.6 of paramount chiefs in my country. The wind of optimism on women in politics and governance is blowing stronger in Sierra Leone and across the Mano River Union. That is why today in Sierra Leone, we are boasting of the Gender Equality and Women Empowerment Act. That is, women have been empowered. Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, that is, women have been empowered to an extent to advocate for themselves. And now today we are in Sierra Leone, we are boasting of having a gender act. That is the Women Gender Equality and Women Empowerment Act. At the social level, norms and stereotypes that impose barriers to women's participation are weakening also. Women who have managed to assume leadership role in Sierra Leone continue to prove themselves worthy of their position. Like for me, Honorable Rebecca in Sierra Leone, today I'm one of the leading young women coming up in Sierra Leone in terms of politics and other position of trust that people look to me as one of the role models for younger women. Coming to the social cost of women participation, Sierra Leone has a strong cultural that is sustained by two ancient fraternities, that is the Poro and the Bondo. These are hindrances that have stopped women from participating, like during these elections. In some places in 2018, some places they do come out with the men's society to prevent women not to campaign, and that is the Poro society. Poro, in its own sense, they said it makes leadership outside the household prerogative of men, while Bondo also teaches young girls to be good wives and caretakers of the family. That was there before, but now it's only the cutting that is there. The real Bondo thing is no longer there that training in Bondo, not the cutting, not the genital mutilation, which takes away the dignity of women. The other thing is about religion. Religion is the second factor that imposes high social costs on women aspiring to decision-making role, especially with all due respect to the Muslim religion. It costs a lot. Today in the meeting I was having, a lady came up and wanted to do the opening prayer in Muslim. You know, the Muslim men rush at her. No. Women don't lead prayer, even in a women's meeting, which to me, I was not happy with that. But I had no alternative. I'm a leader, I'm a politician. I just stopped because I allowed the men to go ahead with the prayers. Religion also frowns at women participation in politics and speaking in public. That is exactly what manifested today in that meeting. Gender role continue to be strongly guided, and crossing over will provoke social rebuke, especially for women. In so many social gatherings, they don't allow women. But in Sierra Leone, we have started breaking that barrier. Today, even in paramount chieftaincy meetings, they allow women to talk, which is a barrier that has been broken. Gender role are arguably the drivers for the social barrier and costs for women participation. You know, in our society, people differentiate. No, this is a women's role. No, this is a men's role. That has really has some impact, negative impact on women's participation, because they stop women even when they are available to take the role. They stop them not to take the role because they have already designed it to be a men's role. So it's really a social cost. Male opponents who are threatening by the women's popularity will sometimes call on the Poro priests to come to town during campaigns. That's one I've already said. Like for me, when I'm so popular, even more than so many men candidates in my district, Kono district, women who have abandoned their campaigns, because of this poorer society. A lot of women abandon their campaign. To cut it short, 60% of girls in Sierra Leone are married before 18 years. Yes, because of poverty. That also is a challenge. Capacity and confidence deficiency also deprive women from taking leadership role. You know, sometimes because of the stop women in the social areas, women don't have confidence to come in front to take part in certain things. So their confidence and their capacity have been deprived for so long. A local council position was denied to a woman because the party leadership claimed that she did not have a college education and would have understood the complexity of politics and governance. How can a local council election deprive somebody because you did not go to college? And the criteria here is as long as you have reached your secondary school and you can communicate clearly, you are supposed to represent your community. But in some certain areas in Sierra Leone, they deprive people because of they are not educated to college level. But if you go to their communities, these women are stronger. Institutional cost of women participation. The 1991 Constitution of Sierra Leone afford all citizens, women and men, the right to be involved in political governance. Women have the right to participate in politics, to contest in election as presidents, parliamentarian, and local councillors. They also have the legal right to serve in all positions of governance, including cabinet ministers. Sierra Leone, I think we have overcome that because the act, the 30% quota have been instituted in the act. Institutional and structural barriers impose severe costs on women. Before 2022, when passing the Land Rights Act, customary law and practices bar women from owning land. Today, I'm telling you, in Sierra Leone, we have the customary land rights. And today it has been passed into law that women can go to any local chief if they have the money to buy land and own it as their property and invest on it. So that's one, I would say kudos to my president for letting us pass that particular act into law and to also sign to it. They also negatively impact on women's ability to pursue higher education as they are forced into early marriage. Political party system. Political party system, the structure of political parties, the main structure, when you look at it in Sierra Leone, you only see women's wing. You hardly see men's wing. You see women's wing and they treat women purely at the women's wing. And in the mainstream of the party structure, you only have men. And whenever they take decision, it's only the women's leader, that is the women's wing leader, that is present in that decision room. And when they want to vote, they vote against the woman because she is alone and she hardly have people to support her. So in Sierra Leone, that has been the culture. But I'm telling you today, that one has changed because now we are dealing with the PR system. And in fact, in the decision to choose candidates, women are allowed 30% to be at the table. And today we have a lot of women candidates. Therefore, party executive and female aspirants alike acknowledge the woman who always sits at the table where men are. I am just picking some of my presentation because it's too long. Now let me come to the financial cost of women's participation in politics. Heavy cost of running in politics. Most of the time when people meet us, NGOs, one of the main barriers we call is cash, money, finances. Even with men, finances are very pivotal in running for elections. Without money, the men will go out there, they will take loan, their fellow men will support them, but women, we hardly get support, only from our husband or some few friends. That is why sometimes the men bully us in politics because they have money, they use it, the time and way they want it. Sierra Leone elections are costly for candidates, whether women or men. Campaign expenses for local council opposition ran from $3,500 to $5,000 in 2018. A member of parliament, the cost was higher. That is $25,000 to run a campaign. The price includes security, the symbol, buying t-shirts and other materials, renting of vehicle and PA system, and among others. For some candidates, even pay to research their constituency and hire a team to manage their campaign. For an independent candidate with no party support, additional costs such as campaign management could be added burden to her. Being a woman aspirant and running for office means the essential resources of the family are diverted to invest in campaigning. Financial costs continue. Even with a low level of income, women's spending patterns contrast with those of their male counterparts across Sierra Leone. A clause of Section 68(1) of the 1991 Constitution of Sierra Leone, which is imposed on presidential and parliamentary candidates, has implicated the situation for working with women. This must resign from their job. That is, they must resign from their job 12 months before election. So think of it, if a woman resigns 12 months before election, where will the woman get money to support herself even within that 12 months before getting into election? That's one we have to review our Gender Act so that in the next election that can be captured. Already unpaid living from other only income source add cost of running of office. It is difficult trade-off for women working as teachers, counselors, or nurses who are paid from consolidated funds. Notably achievements that we have made so far in Sierra Leone. Number one is our Gender Equality and Women Empowerment Act. That is the number one achievement we have made so far in Sierra Leone as women. Number two, CENSSAD Leone has helped us to be able to get our Women's Manifesto, which is also a very big achievement. Also, we held a national conference, which collaborating with other organizations in Sierra Leone, CENSSAD Leone organized a conference for women, which aim at promoting accountability for women. Hello? Is somebody there?
Yeah, please go ahead. We are listening.
Okay. Coordination. Participants in the inaugural Women's Political Participation Coordination meeting is an essential step towards establishing a coordination framework for promoting women's political involvement. I'm telling you, one of the strong organizations in Sierra Leone helping the empowerment, capacity building, and promotion of women in politics is CENSSAD Leone. CENSSAD Leone has done a lot, and I'm also a very big beneficiary from them, not only in cash, but in knowledge, in capacity building. Key observations highlighted for women's participation. Inflation is one. Addressing family affiliation, not inflation, affiliation. Addressing family affiliation, party loyalty, and other social issues that limit some women from supporting female aspirants vying for position could be a challenge. However, working with community leaders and addressing cultural norms and beliefs could help promote a more inclusive environment, supportive environment for women in politics. Number two, increase demand. Give the increased demand from young women to join the Young Women in Governance Network. In Sierra Leone, we have a Young Women's Network, which is the hub where women are being groomed so that when we, as elderly one for now, leave the stage, these women are prepared to take the stage after us. So we have a network that was established by CENSSAD Sierra Leone. They call the Young Women Network in Governance. It is essential to explore ways to increase resources allocated to their capacity building and support in engaging advocacy activities. So they are right now presently engaged in so many advocacy activities and taking part in every step-to-step process of this electioneering in Sierra Leone. Women's participation, ensuring that NGOs promoting women's participation in politics, governance, and leadership is transparent, accountable, and committed and passionate about their work is crucial in ensuring that resources are spent well. And targeting participants benefit from their interventions, promoting best practice and sharing knowledge and experience among NGOs could help improve their intervention effectively. Let me tell you, normally NGOs compete in having support, money, I'll call it money, support to empower women. You see, sometimes they duplicate efforts. Sometimes you see 1, 2, 3 NGOs will call women on leadership training at the same time. Or sometimes after this, you see this. So if they come together, they consolidate their funds, they will be able to do with a lot of things with those funds to capacitate women. Your voices are being heard, and you are proven to our ancestors that their struggles were not in vain. Now, we have one more thing we need to do to walk in our true power, and that is to vote. This is just my own message, to vote. This is what I will say to the women who are from Sierra Leone and are part of this particular webinar meeting, that one way to participate in your country as a leader is to vote and ensure that we vote people that can bring development to our communities, especially women who have already have their nomination and now they are candidates in different political parties. I'm in a party that is a ruling party, but I'm telling you, my own general party is a woman's party. I don't care which party you belong to. I'm only praying that we increase our number in parliament. With the PR system, the proportional representation system, I believe this time around our number in parliament will increase as women and will participate equally as the men are doing in parliament. On this note, I want to thank you very much for your attention. Thank you. Are we there? Hello?
Thank you very much, Honorable Kamara.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, on behalf of all of those who are participating in this meeting, I would just like to say thank you very much for such a brilliant presentation. I know that you have been so busy with your campaign, and initially when we started to talk, you actually told me that you had to, put the campaign aside because this is something that is dear to your heart. And yes. I just want to say thank you very much. I was reading I just want to ask a question before I go to the other panelists, but I was reading your biography, and I realized that you are the Secretary General of the Women.
Yes, I am the Secretary General for the Women Caucus in Parliament.
All right. So what I want to know is, like, what role is this caucus playing as it relates to having more women elected to Parliament?
Yes, well, actually, the caucus look at laws that are archaic, that does not capture women or does not consider gender. And these laws, sometimes we bring it forward to the legislative committee to look at it. For example, when we won in 2018, the Sexual Offences Act that looks at domestic violence in Sierra Leone, we looked at it, we find out that There are a lot of gaps. How can someone rape a child and is being sentenced just for 6 months? And you see that person walking freely after 6 months, when that person has destroyed the future of that young girl who will tomorrow be a leader in my country. So those are some of the gaps we look at to see how we strengthen our laws to favor women and to protect women in terms of security. We also look at resolutions that have been approved in Parliament that has to deal with women. Like for example, the UN Resolution 1325 that looks at women's peace and security. That one, Sierra Leone signed to it long, but it has not been implemented. And we have not been passing it in Parliament so that we own it and domesticate it. So that one was also one of the so many resolutions we signed to that has to do with employing more women in the security forces. For example, the police and the military. And today in Sierra Leone, a lot of women have been employed in the police and the military. And also we are looking at how the police and the military will review their policies so that it favors their female personnel. Because if you look in the army, in the military, you find out that even the way of dressing, they allow women to wear fatigue, even when the women are pregnant. And they will tell you, you cannot get pregnant until XYZ year before you get pregnant. Whereas the men go ahead and impregnate their wives and they produce, and the women, they discriminate against them. So we cannot just sign to those resolutions, but we also ensure that it's being implemented. So the female caucus has been going around to these security institutions to ensure that they implement whatever is written in the security, UN security peace, UN resolution 1325 for women, peace and security. These are just but the few things we normally look at. And we also look at the welfare of women who are working in Parliament and other different ministries and other places, so that they will not marginalize them in terms of promotion, in terms of elevation. Some women, you see them in these offices, they are there just as secretaries. They will spend over 20, 30 years just as front receptionists. They will even understand the institution, how it works, but they will never promote them to higher position. So we are also looking at that to see how we can lobby the different ministries and organizations to see how they can promote long-standing women who have been working with them and have the experience of the organization. These are but few things we have been doing. And for this election, to see more women come to politics, we have been going around in the different districts to catch them young. Catching them young means working with these young women in politics. We have young women in governance. We go to the schools, we talk to them that politics is not a taboo for women. Politics is also a way of sitting in the decision-making table with men so that we take decisions for our country, for our communities. So we encourage them, we encourage them to build their self-confidence, to come out whenever there are political positions to vie for. These are about few things we do as female caucus around. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable. We will go to the other panelists, but just before I go to the other panelists, someone from Liberia, Honorable, Hawa Fani, wanted to ask you a question that has to do with, she wants to know how effective your land rights law is for women in rural areas.
Okay. Yeah, allow her to ask. Or do you want me to answer now?
Okay, Hawa, can you go ahead?
Okay, Mr. Richelieu?
Yes, ma'am.
I can answer.
Okay.
Okay, the land rights law, as I told you, in 2022, we just passed the customary land right that gives power to women to be able to apply for land. And in the committee that take decision as to whether to sell the land or not, or lease the land, in that committee, according to the commission, 30% of those in the committee are women. So that when a woman goes before that particular committee or commission, there will be women who will advocate for that woman to be able to own the land. So that's the way it works. And it has been given to, the mandate has been given to all local chiefs, that is our paramount chiefs, so that when a woman approaches them for land, they will not deprive the woman. So that's the way it is working. The land, customary land right has just been passed, and we are trying to see how we popularize it so women will know, our local authorities will know, they will not deprive women again from owning land, and women will use those clauses to vie or apply for land which they want to do business or build their personal houses. That is the way it is as of now.
Okay, thank you. I see there are a lot of other participants that want to ask you a question, but I think we will table it for a while as a moderator. They will ask you later. I just want us to like get other perspective on the issue of women participation in politics from the Liberian perspective. So at this time, Honorable, let me say thank you. We did not make a mistake to select you. I see that you are in your party color, green.
Sure. People are even waiting me outside.
Okay, so thank you very much. We will come back to you with other questions.
Okay.
So at this, thank you very much. At this time, I would like. Is anybody say anything? Okay. At this time, I would like to invite Honorable. Sorry, I hope she become Honorable. I'm getting used to the Honorable because of Honorable Kamara. But at this time, I would like to invite Antoine Palmedia Pavey, who is a member of the Independent National Human Rights Commissioner of Liberia. She's one of the commissioners. I have known her for a number of years. She has worked in civil society for a little over 10, 15 years. And she has a bachelor degree in law from the Louis Arthur Graham School of Law. So at this time, Antoine Pavey will dive into issues as it relates to violence against women in politics, violence against women in election, and also briefly look at women participation from the Liberian context. Antoine Pavey, it's all yours.
So thank you very much, Mr. Allison. A big thank you to all of the organizers. This is indeed the right moment that we are able to share information contextually and specifically as it relates to the Mano River Union countries and women political participation. Having said that, I just want to say a big thank you to Honorable Kamara for sharing the Sierra Leonean context with us. And I would like to say what she shared is endemic to the MRU countries. So it's not just Sierra Leone, but it's also, we share the same, some of those same perspective as well. I just like to start up from where she started. I know she mentioned something about the land rights law in Sierra Leone. Interestingly, we have also passed ours, and I'm proud to say I was the one who did the communication strategy for the land rights in Liberia, particularly, you know, the focusing on women and customary land rights. And that is still in a nascent stage because when you talk about laws, we have many good laws. The problem is ensuring that we have the adequacy in terms of systems and trying to implement those policies and laws. So it would have been good if she could have also shared with us any present statistics as towards what initial impact has been made. Because in my mind, when you talk about laws and women can go and now gain land, it seemed that, I mean, there will be no inherent barriers to that on one hand. But I like to point out that in terms of women political participation, in terms of all of the laws that we have, there is a huge disparity and inequality as it relates to parity in whatever we do. And we cannot shy away from the fact that it is because of our socialization. It is also because of, our long time lineage on patriarchy. And these are invisible and visible structures and obstacles that we must dismantle if we want to have a steady increase in women political participation and in leadership. So I just like to highlight a few statistics from the Liberian perspective. It will interest you to know that Liberia can be referred to as one of the trailblazers when it comes to United Nations Security Resolution 1325 that calls for increased, participation of women in all spheres of life. So with that, you will see that we have made remarkable gains, owing to the fact that we produced the first female president in Africa. We've also had the first vice president in Liberia. So I just want to highlight basic statistics. So we got our right to vote in 1943 in Liberia. In 1959, we also saw the first female Afro-American woman who became representative at the National Legislature, Eddie Mae Scarborough. And in 2005, we saw Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf as first president of the Republic of Liberia. Also, between 2006 and 2022, we had a huge exodus of women involved in politics, right? We have hundreds of men that were elected, and then we saw also only 27 women that became legislators. In 2018, we elected our first female vice president, and as of present, we only have 10.7% of women at the national legislature, inclusive of 2 women senators. So it tells you that the curves have not been studied. There's been fluctuation. And when it comes to women political participation, I can tell you from a Liberian perspective that the number of women that are now engaged in politics, especially young women, are so passionate, and they have played multiple roles in terms of canvassing for candidates, in terms of being strategists in political parties, and being a voice out there encouraging people to participate. So it transcends beyond just that leadership aspect, but we are making significant strides when it comes to women political participation. And I would like to say that our democracy is striving from that perspective. So it has not been smooth. We've seen a lot lately as it relates to violence against women in politics, in terms of the way women have been portrayed, on the internet, social media platforms, um, digital media. There's a lot of cyberbullying, what have you. And the thing about, fake fake news, where people have the capacity or the tendency to develop caricatures to spread rumors or to defame women political candidates. So this is the kind of thing that we are watching the political space for. And we know that the environment is also very politically charged when it comes to the hostility that women in politics are faced with, not alone mention the lack of resources. One of the points I like to highlight here today, that cuts across the spectrum for the Mano River Union countries is that we can have all of the laws, in terms of gender parity. We can have all of the women that we can encourage to run. I also like to point out that we also have mandatorily that political parties must come forth, with 30% of the party listing with women candidates. But there is still a lot that needs to be unraveled as it relates to that, to have the kind of mobility that we want to see. Women lack the resources. Do we have access to the kind of resources that we need to run for offices that will adequately get us to where we want to be when our political culture is based on giving handouts, freebies, and what have you? So these are inherent problems. And if you look at the political economy right now, as it relates to Liberia, I would say it is not favorable for Liberian women because there's a whole lot that is going on. You have the disenchantment of, citizens now wanting to participate. I tell you for a fact, a couple of days ago, I was able to engage youth and other people, asking them about what decisions, they will make and how they were going to register to vote. And some of them told me bluntly, any candidate who approached me to give me something is the person I'm going to vote for. So poverty is a serious factor here. I'm not sure we have a level playing field with all that is unfolding in terms of women political participation. But the one point that I want to stress here is that it is important that we deal with these inherent barriers, such as socialization, such as patriarchy. We have not been able to pass our gender parity bill like our counterparts in Sierra Leone. And it's simply because the number of men at the legislature outweighs the number of women. They don't see that perspective because of socialization, in what is going to convince them to say this is the way to go in terms of all of the challenges that women face in terms of political mobility. So this is deeper than what we see. And this is why we need to kind of dismantle all of these things at different level in terms of the way we socialize our children, in terms of the way we educate people at the lowest level. So I know that Honorable Kamara had mentioned something about harmful traditional practices as it relates to elections. We've had that here in Liberia with the Botokana situation. And we saw how the women movement in Liberia mobilized to ensure that, Senator Kane got the kind of justice she needed and she was able to assume her role as a leader in the Republic of Liberia. And those are very good examples. So I know that we also have the Violence Against Women Protocol that all political parties have signed off to. We are watching to see where we go with that in terms of whether or not it's being enforced. But again, I like to mention that if you look across the political party spectrum in Liberia at the hierarchy and at the helm of leadership, where you have about only 4 women, that was as of 2022, as party leaders. It tells you that we have to work within these political parties to make sure that their policies are also inclusive so that we have people of the minority, people who are vulnerable, but also people, women can 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 come up and assume the leadership roles that we want them to assume. So I'm not saying that this can happen overnight, but the work has begun. We need to be steadfast. We need to push for more, and the changes will come. But as it is, there is still an uphill battle. And then the fact that we can have huge number of women being aware of politics, being able to participate. I also like to share that there's a lot going on in terms of training candidates, in terms of educating different civil society organizations and citizens, but also hello, I think there's some distortion in the background. But also, there's a lot going on. We have NAMO that has done a lot of work. We have other international partners like the National Democratic Institute that have worked with um, women candidates over time, women aspirants. And there's a lot that is going on. Do these women have the resources to canvass? No, they do not. You do not go to elections without having the adequate resources. And that is key for women attaining leadership roles. That is key for also being able to emerge as leaders. And so, with this, I want to wrap it up here to say that patriarchy is a key factor. Until we deal with this by employing what our counterparts have done in Rwanda and other places around the world, we will still be facing an uphill battle as we consolidate our democracy in Liberia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Antonin Peve, for your presentation. We will try to wrap up from here in the next 45 minutes, so we will have to, I will be brief with the questions. We also have one of the panelists in person of Adama Sida, a member of the board of advisor of the West African Youth Network. She's from Guinea. But before I invite Adama, uh, Anthony Peve, there's something that you mentioned in your presentation as it relates to violence against women during the election, and you kind of mentioned the issue of Boto Cannon, who was elected to the Liberian Senate. Today, she's one of the two women in the Senate. Can you care to elaborate more? Because I think from the perspective of violence against women, this is an issue that should be singled out, and maybe you could care to share how the women were able to help to diffuse the tension and rally around Senator Cannon, please.
Okay, so without being very specific, I know that Senator Cannon was indulged in her elections for the senatorial bid in Buffalo County, and during that period, there was violence against her to the extent that the country devil, as we call it in Liberia. I know Honorable Kamara mentioned the Poor and Bodo Society. They have brought the devil out, and you know that once the devil comes out, women, especially the male devil, women are not allowed to be outside. So how do you go about canvassing? And so much that there was a lot of tension, and some of our campaign team were brutalized, in terms they were manhandled unimaginably. So with that, I think there was a case. It was filed to the National Elections Commission. Subsequently, there was a ruling, and then they went to the Supreme Court. But then what we saw, and a good lesson learned, was how the women and civil society organizations were able to condemn in the strongest term. We also saw that women lawyers in the political vanguard provided services to Senator Cannon, and they moved forward to see to it that her case, was heard and she was defended. The women movement also came together to raise money. There was a fundraiser, and led by a group of women dubbed the Lapa Revolution. Then they came out to raise money. The women show up, and that was a good show of solidarity. So there was a lot. The process was monitored, and eventually the Supreme Court had ruled, and with her winning the case, they went, and there was re-election. They had to go back um, to canvass and to go through the process. With that, the women again had, John Boto to go in solidarity to support her while she was on canvas, to make sure that what happened was not repeated. There was a lot of engagement, from the national level. And with that, Boto emerged winner. She was certificated, and she became um, senator of Bapolo County, and she still a powerful force to reckon with today in Liberia. So that was a good lesson learned in terms of the kind of solidarity, that can help make sure that there can be transparency when it comes to women political participation, even when there are incidents. Thank you. Hello?
Yes, Richelio, if you can hear us. Well, before Richelio takes over, so Pam, there are a few questions here as well. Let me throw one at you, and then we'll move forward. So it says that the media plays a crucial role in shaping public perception and attitudes towards women in politics. How can media organizations promote fair and unbiased coverage of women politicians and avoid perpetuating gender stereotypes?
Well, there are several ways to do this. I am a journalist myself for many years. I've worked with the Liberian media and media development organizations. So I am a journalist. There's a code of conduct for elections that, just to give women equal access to media, to ensure that you do not reinforce stereotypes. Um, the thing about socialization, it cuts across every sector. So even within the newsroom, men are shaped to think the way they think. So for example, why not focus on the issue the way you deal with your male counterparts, and you want to focus on the kind of jewelry or the way a particular woman aspirant is dressed. So these are things that kind of reinforces gender stereotypes when it comes to the media, and also the way women are negatively portrayed in the media is something that this code of conduct seek to address. So from time to time, there's been a lot of training of journalists, but what is happening in the media landscape in Liberia is that it has become so polarized to the extent that there's lack of transparency in ownership. It's good to know open and clearly who owns what media, so that we know that if you're affiliating with a particular candidate or a political party and you have a say in it. The other thing too is that the issue of having lack of resources is something that plays within the media landscape itself. So candidates that tend to have more money will purchase more airtime, right? And if that is the case, then there must also be programs where you have a platform for all candidates to share their electoral platforms, their manifestos, so that when you are giving more time to a particular candidate, you must announce that this is a pay for program, and then that is clear. But in many instances, some of these are lacking. And so we hope to see that there can be more training as it relates to this. The other thing too is the language, right? The regulatory language against women and scandal that you try to bring up, whether true or not true. I'm happy that we also have a few fact-checking institutions now in Liberia where they check facts and they come up and they correct, if there's anything that is erroneous or not correct within the media, it is corrected there and then. But the way to go about, doing this is to ensure that there's adequate, media, there's adequate media monitoring of elections throughout. I know that the Liberian Media Center did that in the past. I don't know if anyone else is doing that right now. I know they do some of that in some of the election situation room that are being put together. We saw that during the last elections. But one of the things that, moving forward, that will kind of that would kind of resonate in terms of how we prevent or how we do not have a recurrence of, you know, negative stereotypes and negative portrayal of women political candidates, is to ensure that there can be adequate measures or punitive action for reprimanding, you know, journalists and institutions that would do that. In times past, this has been treated lukewarm, and we do understand that the Press Union of Liberia, that is the, you know, has a self-regulatory mechanism, but it is not strong enough because it is not legislated. The most they've been able to do is to kind of ask for retraction, publication to correct the information, and also come up to kind of name and shame the institution or suspend your membership. But with that, it is not mandatory that every institution is accredited by the Press Union of Liberia. So there has to be some stronger measures, and we are pushing for an independent media regulatory commission. Hopefully with that, there can be stronger measure as it relates to how the media treats women, including women aspirants and women in politics.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Before Richilio take over, we have Aaron Ireland. Your hand is up. You want to unmute yourself and you can ask question quickly. Please keep it short. Aaron, are you there?
Sorry, I thought I just unmuted myself. Okay, you getting me now?
Yes.
So thanks again to Anthony Peve for the presentation. I think it was clear and concise. I just had a couple of questions, but I'm just going to ask one because of time. So let's say 1 in 2 for the first thing about women political participation. I think it goes beyond just at the national level. Because I mean, we listened to your expose where you give few backgrounds of where women have been elected in Liberia and the positions. Now we see these things at a higher level, but then there are 1 among 10 or 1 among hundreds. So how do we look at women political participation in this region from a grassroots level? I'm talking about, let's say, local governance, where we start to have more women in being clan chief and paramount chiefs. How do we communicate these things to the local people to be able to, you know, achieve the UN resolution 1325? 1325. And lastly, currently there is a law, section 4.5 of the, I think, election law that calls for 30% women political participation at the level of the parliament that is currently on the desk of the president. So say we have the president to sign that law. It's just one thing to sign a law calling for 30% participation, is another thing to have it be implemented. How do you think that can be achieved if this law is being passed and approved by the president? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So at the grassroots level, I cannot give you the actual statistics, but I can safely say that the women at the grassroots level, especially when it comes to where we have paramount and clan chief at local governance level, these women are highly involved in politics. In fact, they are the ones who canvass to make sure that other women are making headways when it comes to consolidating and building their constituencies. So we have, you know, in the women movement, we have the rural women structure. And when it comes to civil society, these people are very much interlinked with one another. When it comes to the women political movement, these women are very much involved. It would surprise you to know that they understand politics, grassroots politics. They understand decision making. Why it is not enough to say that, okay, because they are at a certain level, they may not know. And I think Honorable Kamara kind of gave a perfect example of somebody being discriminated against because they did not have the educational qualification to assume leadership role. But these women are highly involved in politics. And I will refer to them in some instance as king makers and queen makers, because they are well respected at the local level. In order for you to kind of gain the kind of constituents you want at those level, you will have to use your influence to speak to other people to convince them that you are the right person, or choice for leadership. And they are very much well placed when it comes to being involved in politics. Again, there are still, as I mentioned in my opening, patriarchy is the thing. I do not agree with our previous speaker that women lack confidence. No, with these women do have confidence. They engage. What they really lack is the resources to come out and come out. So if they have the requisite resources, you will see that we will have many more women stepping out, coming out to participate in elections and in politics. On the issue of the commitment for 30% of party listing, one of the ways to, there's some discussion over there. So in terms of recommending some of the ways to ensure that the political parties can have their listing, I mean, it's to ensure that women continue to work with other women to make sure they are prepared for the party primaries that is already ongoing. You have a lot of party conventions happening right now, to make sure that they understand what they need to do in terms of preparing, in terms of the criteria that have been established, and just ensuring that there can be some level of transparency. So who's monitoring these party primaries to make sure that the women are actually involved? What policy statements or what strategies these political parties have for meeting that 30% requirement of party listing? There has to be some level of work done there. And it is my candid recommendation that I know that the women movement, international partners and local partners have been engaging political parties over time to ensure that their party listing can have an equal amount of women represented on it. But there's a lot more that needs to be done in terms of party policy, right? Do they have inclusive policies? Do they have gender mainstreaming policies? That they must have equal number of women at the hierarchy of political parties? Are they willing to dismantle these women wings and not just leave them to preparing meals during canvassing or during conventions, but make sure that the women are at the forefront at the table when conventions are being held? So there's a whole lot that needs to be dealt with, at the level of the party. And I know some is already happening, but the political will, I would say, will not be there at the level of the political parties, especially at a time when you still have equal amount of men wanting to run for different seats. At some political parties, and I'm not ashamed to say there's a lot that goes into play when it comes to lack of transparency. Money change hands overnight. You see that delegates will flip, in terms of electing during party primaries who will represent the party at a particular district. And that is something that people need to be conscious of. There has to be a lot of awareness so that we can see, the list coming forth. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pat.
Thank you very much.
So, Richelieu, I'll hand over to you if you want to pick it up from there.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Jacobs, for coming in to take over from me when technology seems to fail me. I know we have a lot of questions for Rebecca and for Anthony Pavey, but we have to hold on for a while to give our other panelists the chance to speak. Anthony Peve, I just want to say thank you very much for your brilliant presentation. We have been following your work in Liberia over the last few years, and we realize that you are one of those few from your time in civil society. So I would say few civil society activists that have been actually working to enhance women participation. Having said that, at this time, I would like to introduce someone that I have known over the last 15 years. And I must confess that when I first met her, she spoke no word in English. But over the last few years, she has been able to grasp the understanding of the English language. She's as a member of the advisory board of the West African Youth Network, an organization that I work with for a number of years in Sierra Leone. In 2010, she was fortunate to have been selected to go to the US, and she was fortunate to have met President Obama. And also in 2011, she was recognized by the National Endowment for Democracy, NED, in America as one of the most promising young women in Africa under 30. So at this time, I would like to present Madam Adama Sila Doket. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Who will dive into, women political participation from the Guinean perspective. Adama, the floor is yours, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Richelieu, and good afternoon in everybody. I don't know if you are listening to me. Is it good?
Yes, Adama, we can hear you well.
Okay. Oh, Mr. Jacob, I'm happy to hear your voice, even didn't see you. It's been a long time. Okay, Mr. Richelieu, I'm very, very happy to take part in this meeting, Zoom meeting, talking about the women, the capacity building for the women. Please, can you excuse me? My English is not better. Even me, I want to speak in French. So, but maybe that one we I don't know. We put you to learn or to speak how to speak French. I don't know. Okay. Excuse me.
Might be good if we have a translator as well.
I don't know if they have translator. Do you have translator?
Just go ahead. Just speak so that it become easy because of the time factor. So you just speak.
I don't have to take. I don't have to take more time because in Guinea we have a different situation about because of you. Everybody know that we are our political situation is the transit. How do I say? Nous sommes dans une situation de transit à cause du coup d'État qui s'est déroulé en Guinée, où on a vu que le CNRD a pris le pouvoir en Guinée. Donc, cela a, d'une manière ou d'une autre, remis tous les pendules à zéro. Parce que quand il y a un coup d'État dans un pays, c'est que veut dire que la Constitution est revenue down, est revenue à terre. So, ils ont mis en place un système qui pourra permettre à tout le monde que ça
Adama?
soit... Yes.
So we have someone that listening in can do the interpretation.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you be very slow, because of time, he will try to interpret. Okay. So that everybody. Okay.
Okay. So you can proceed.
Okay. Donc je disais que la Guinée traverse une situation transitoire.
Okay, so situation in Guinea have a situation that is not good.
Ok, donc on ne peut pas dire que nous avions actuellement la même situation que tous les autres pays de l'espace Mano.
I think she's trying to say, like, come again, please.
Je voulais dire que vous pouvez comprendre que nous n'avons pas la même situation que le Liberia, la Sierra Leone et la Côte d'Ivoire.
Okay, she has understood that the situation at Liberia and Sierra Leone is not what they're experiencing in Guinea.
Voilà, parce que quand le coup d'État est venu, toutes les constitutions sont revenues à zéro.
So when the coup d'État took place in Guinea recently, all of the constitution law, everything went to zero. Nothing was implemented.
Yes, donc c'est pour dire que nous reprenons tout à zéro et que actuellement, le CNRD a mis en place avec le Conseil national de transition un système qui pourra permettre à tout le monde, que ce soit la société civile ou bien les partis politiques, à apporter leur point de vue sur la constitution guinéenne.
So when the coup took place and the current leadership went into power, they abruptly hold everything on political activities, personal level and everything. So everything now at Guinea is at zero.
Une chose est commune, c'est que nous sommes tous toujours en train de lutter pour que les femmes puissent avoir beaucoup plus de place.
Come again and make it short. Come again and make it short, huh?
Okay, let me repeat this one. Je veux dire que nous tous, au niveau de l'Afrique de l'Ouest, nous sommes en train de faire la même lutte.
I think she's saying that we if I'm getting it right, say we are at Africa, I mean West Africa, right? Hello?
Oui, nous sommes en train de faire la même lutte. Celui de donner une très grande place à la femme.
Adama?
Yes.
Can I suggest, Amia, because can you maybe speak English and very slow and then we all will understand because of the time, please?
Okay. I just want to say that in the West Africa, we are all doing the same work, like to give the big place or the important place to the women in West Africa.
Okay.
Fortunately, in Guinea, our government, there are 27 people in the government, but just 7 places. They have just give 7 places to the women, you know. So we have a lot of things to do here in Guinea. But they said that they will do the election in 2024. But we have to see that because I think we are late if they are said that we will do that one in 2024, you know. But au niveau de la Mr. Allison, I think I prefer they can give question so that I will write it and answer it because my English, I'm so sorry.
Okay, Adaman. If I got you right, you were like saying that
Yes.
Due to the military takeover in Guinea, most of the political activities are down. And one thing I already took from you was like you have only 7 women working, you know, 7 places were allocated to women in Guinea.
In Guinea, in the new government.
In the Guinean government, okay.
Yes. So we have a lot of things to do here about the concerning the women, you know.
Okay. All right, Adaman, thank you very much. I know that I do understand your English, but I know that if you want to talk in depth on a topic like this, you prefer speaking in French, your mother tongue, yeah.
Yes.
But unfortunately, because of time, we cannot, we cannot allow someone to interpret. What I want to, let me just start by asking you, before the coup, like the past election in Sierra Leone, I mean in Guinea, excuse me, were there women in parliament before the military coup?
Oui, on avait des femmes au niveau du Parlement. Okay, yes, we have it, the women in the parliament, but
Okay.
you know, that system before was a very, very corruptive system. So we don't have to say, we cannot have to say that that system wasn't good for the women, because every woman who was in there, they are there like like puppet.
Puppet.
Yes, like puppet. They just give them work and they do that work and finish. They don't have the, I don't, il n'y a pas le retour. We don't have the, how to say that? Le retour, on n'a pas de retour. C'était un peu ça, en fait.
Okay, Adama, I see Pamelia Doe has her hand up and she wants to ask you a question. Antonin Pivot.
So it's not a question. I am just complimenting, you know, what she said in terms of what has happened after the coup d'etat in Conakry, in Guinea. So the UN Women statistics, 16.7% of seats in parliament were held by women in Guinea. So yes, you can see that there's a huge down curve with just having 7 women. You know, and like she said, these are seats that are just like token, something that you just give to people to do certain things.
Yes.
But you can see that there is a connection between the conflict and, you know, what has happened, you know, with women in political participation. So and the general dynamics when it comes to that. So there is an issue of power, and I don't know at this stage whether there can be any much that can happen in terms of engagement from civil society, especially you're talking about the military having full power of the country.
Thank you very much, Antonin Pivot. Adama, did I get you right? Did you say the election is going to be next year?
It's going to be next year. Is that they have said, and I think they have prepared all things up for that. Now on this time in our Conseil National de Transition, CNT, in our CNT parliament, the people who take place to the parliament place. Now they are starting working on our constitution, and that constitution they have opening door for every people, even their student people. They can come give their points or their how to say that. Yes, they can give their points. What you want can be inside to your constitution. What do you want your how do you want your country can be grow? Like they are open the how to say it, they are open the meeting, yes, for every people, but even the society people, even the political people, everybody are coming and give their points about how we want to see our country like that. Yes. Hello. Hello.
Yes, Sadama, we could hear you. Yes, I think the point is very well noted, and I hope and believe that in the coming years, the political environment in Guinea will change, and but we have engineer Emmanuel Damugi on the hand up. You can go ahead. Or Ira, you can go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Professor Jacob, and thank you very much to Adama. I'm not a speaker, but listening to her, I wanted to ask her. She talked about, I think, the revision of the constitution. So I wanted to find out why they revising the constitution. Was it a fraud constitution before the coup? And can we say that this was a benefit of the that they want to see the constitution revised? Is it do they see it as a constitution of the coup? That's just my question.
Mr. Jacob, can you repeat the question for me, please?
Honestly, the question wasn't that clear. Ira, you were breaking, so if you can just ask the question again.
Okay.
I know you were talking about the constitution, but I'm not sure.
Yes, I was talking about the constitution, but listening to her, of course, I'm not a speaker from South Sudan. Listening is that
Ira, hold on 1 second. We can hardly hear you. You come in and go out. If you don't mind, you can type the question in the chat room. That would be much easier because it looks like you come in and go out, so we don't seem to get the question. Thank you so much for understanding. So yes, Rashili, you can take over, and Ira will put his question on the platform.
Thank you again, Professor Dr. Jacobs. Adam, thank you very much. Let me just get back with this question that is burning on my mind. Generally, let's look at the rights of women in Guinea before the military, coup. Can you say in your mind that women's rights in Guinea generally were respected before the coup?
Mr. Allison, even if I said that it wasn't respected, maybe I have to give the percentage, because even if I said that, maybe that one will be on our capital or our region, but we have to know that the Nations Unies, the system des Nations Unies, the Nations Unies system have making their reports about the respect, the law, the human law respect in Guinea. And if you see that report, you will know that we have to do many things. We have to do a lot of things, but I just have to say that is respect on 40%. If I have to give the percentage, it's just 40%.
Okay. Thank you very much, Adaman. We don't have much time, so I know Honorable Kamara is still around, Anthony PV. So at this time, if you have any question for any one of the panelists, I would like to suggest that you kindly put your hand up, so that we recognize you, and then you can pose your question. I know there were a lot of questions that were coming up when the panelists were speaking. So if anyone have, okay, Mr. Ireland, I recognize you, please.
Thank you again. Once again, I'm Aaron and I'm joining from East Africa. Well, I want to ask Anthony Peve again. I know you work with the commission, the Independent Human Rights Commission. I just want to know, at this point, Liberia is going to elections in October. How is the commission working along with government, including political parties, to ensure that the rights of every individual, including women politicians, are upheld in a way that we can have a sustainable and a peaceful elections? Thank you.
So I know that the Independent National, we have an elections project, and we do that through monitoring and engagement to make sure that the principles as it relates to human rights in elections are observed. For example, people have the right to participate no matter what. That is in the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. So we have a monitoring room and also a situation room that is coming into effect. But we also have monitors in every part of Liberia, and we are monitoring, you know, and engaging quietly. We engage stakeholders as it is mandatory. The commission is not involved in green fee advocacy, but we are ensuring that all of the principles as it relates to elections and human rights are followed. We will also be engaging with other partners at the county level. We've divided the country into 5 regions for this type of monitoring, specifically relating to elections. So this is ongoing at the moment, and we will continue to engage all stakeholders as we've been doing in the past. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. So let me see. I think we have Paul, 4D Paul. Your hand is up. You can unmute yourself and ask your question, and then we will read some of the questions in the chat.
Thank you very much, Professor. It's not actually a question. I just want to commend you guys for actually hosting this webinar, because it's high time that we have struggled a lot as West Africans, or generally Africans, to ensure that we have women's participation in governance. Of course, as like I stated in my posted in the chat, Honorable Rebecca Kamara, I worked with her for 6 years. We worked together on a governance program. And I can remember in Kono District, when we had the first, when we just introduced the governance program, we had a very big challenge with the secret society, the porous society, the male society, in respect of the paramount chieftaincy at Nimiyama Chiefdom. But for some of us who have been members of the porous society, a lot of women we are going to be manhandled. But at least we forged ahead, and I'm happy that she is actually pushing her, because, I mean, she started as a youth advocate. And now I saw her into governance, and she's one of the most outspoken parliamentarians. With our Gender Equity and Equality and Women's Empowerment Act that has been passed, we still have some gray areas among the political parties. You know, when you look at the implementation of the act by even the current SLPP government that enacted the law, they are still a challenge when you come to their party regulations. You know, so there's still a lot to be done. You know, and if we really want women to be, the voices of women to be heard, to see them being very active, to see them being very functional and supportive, definitely we need to push beyond just the enactment to the implementation. That's just what I wanted to contribute to.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Sammy, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. I was going to say that there was a question on the platform from Willett, and the Willett says that thanks for the presentation, Anthony Perry. What is your view on the possibility of having the president to sign on to the new election law for the 30% quota to take effect, considering the basis of his letter to the House Speaker's Chamber, highlighting reasons for vetoing part of the new election laws? Is there a strategy that can be employed to have that law signed than 6 months to elections?
Willet, but I know that the section 5 of the new election law of candidates remains. It was not touched. So in my mind, it is as it is. And I know that there were other reasons given, for the veto of certain sections of the laws based on other legal framework that kind of complements what was being proposed as the reason to veto. However, I do not speak for the office of the president on this matter, but I would say that section 5, section 4.5 as it is of that law remains, implicitly as it is because it was not vetoed.
Got you. Got you. All right. Thank you so much. Richelio, you want to take over so that we can be heading towards the wrap-up session? Richelio, you there? Okay, so I think that maybe 2 additional questions, and this can go to all the panelists, either Tony, or it can also go to Honorable or Adama, and the question will be centered around this. Gender-based violence and harassment remain significant challenges for women in politics. How can we create safe and inclusive spaces for women to participate in politics without fear of violence or harassment, both online and in person? Because we learn from the presentations, especially when Honorable Rebecca was presenting, she alluded the fact that women faces many challenges from different perspective, and so based on your experiences in your respective countries, how can we minimize harassment and violence against women who want to be engaged in politics? Any of you can just answer. And then once we get Richelio back, we will be able to wrap up.
So some of the ways, I think in the absence, especially when it comes to the digital space, in the absence of not having clearly defined media laws or digital laws to govern internet and publication, there are several ways. First of all, is to test what the law can do for us. So if, the same that applies offline must apply online in terms of defamation. So if someone says something defaming to you as a political candidate, in as much as it may have a rippling effect on your campaign, you have the option of taking that up legally to make sure that is halted. At the same time, we know that on our campaign management teams, you have people that are responsible for dismantling propaganda against you. So they have to work over time to make sure that they can clean whatever defaming information that has been put out there. For us as citizens, we have the responsibility to condemn, strongly, in the strongest terms, when those things happen, and calling for action. I'm not talking about, the kind of action that will be unlawful, but just calling for, widespread condemnation will do a lot against people coming online to say negative things about women that could cast, negative aspersion on them. And at the end of the day, it affects their campaigns, or it affects their canvassing to become leaders after doing so much work. So the last thing is that we must encourage people to check their facts. Before you, all of us, we are in a lot of chat rooms. It's not enough for somebody to just share an information and then you click and you just share and share and share. It's good to authenticate the source of the information, because you can also be held liable for just sharing. So these are my few recommendations for dealing with those types of violence as it relates to women in politics.
Yeah, Sammy, please. I saw Vivian hand up, please.
Yes, Vivian, you can go ahead. I think it's not available. So Richelieu, you want to probably take over and wrap it up. We are 2 hours into the time.
Well, I just want to.
I just have one last question, if I may, please.
Okay, go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, so this goes to, I mean, any one of the panelists will address it. So we've realized from this conversation that the issue about women political participation, the gap, it's not only unique to one country, so it affects the entire region and the Mano Union. So my question is, do you think these 3 countries, you know, Liberia, Guinea, and Sierra Leone, can come together to, you know, develop something in a way that address the issues about women inclusion? If that is possible, how do you think this can be done? Because I think if we're addressing it at a national and regional level, as well as global level, can make a better or more impact. So any one of the panelists, you know.
So I want to go first because I think I may have a hard stop. So in terms of that, there has been a lot of engagement. I remember there was I think something like a caravan women from these 3 countries meeting to do a lot as it relates to peace and security. And there's been a lot of other engagement. And also at the ECOWAS level, there are different kinds of activities moving forward as it relates to policies in terms of women political participation, in terms of gender. So a lot is ongoing at this moment. It's just that we need constant engagement and also making sure that we can hold future barriers implemented in this regard so that at the end of the day, it is achieved. Thank you.
Okay, I think that one has been done by the West African Youth Network since how do you say that, long time ago. And I think the Mano River Union Youth Parliament for Peace, they are doing the same again things in the borders, the Liberia, Sierra Leone, Ivory Coast, you know, the border. And I think that one of the last was financed by the Rotary Peace Building, I think. If is it not so, Mr. Richelieu?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so we have doing that one, and maybe if is it this meeting is again the opportunity to know what the difficulty we have inside our Mano River Union Peace, Mano River Union space countries, and the 4 countries, and maybe we can put together some activities. And I think Mr. Richelieu is the one who can help us to finance, to get the financial to do the activities, I think.
Thank you very much, Adama. Let me just say that
Okay.
my organization, the Center for Security Studies, is presently working with relevant partners to see how best we can organize a regional meeting as it relates to women participation in August this year. So we will be reaching out to many of you or some of you who participated in this meeting to see how best we can also get you to participate in this meeting. It will be a face-to-face meeting, bringing together, because in August, the election in Sierra Leone will be finished. And at that time, we have we know who's going to be member of parliament. So in August, we will be bringing in a few members of parliament, women members of parliament from Sierra Leone, civil society activists, also reaching out to Guinea, coming to Liberia to engage some of those who will be participating in the ensuing election in October 2023. So my organization is actually involved in this issue, not only at the national level, but also at the regional level. And this meeting is a manifestation of what we have been doing. So time is fast spent. Let me, for and on behalf of the the Jacobs-Abbey Institute of Global Leadership, who helped us to put this together. Professor Dr. Samuel Jacobs has been a long-time friend over the last few years. I also want to say that this meeting was also organized in collaboration with the Global Democracy Coalition, also the International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance, and the West African Youth Network. For today, we highlighted a few things that I would like to, because of time, just be brief. We look at the issue of finance, lack of education, patriarchy. We live in a male-dominated region, male-dominated society, and these are things that also affect women participation. We also look at the issue of traditional norms, and mention one or two cases in Liberia as it relates to violence against women. You know, something that Rebecca, Honorable Kamara stressed was the lack of confidence. And then one of the panelists in person of Anthony David said, no, it's not really the lack of confidence, you know, is maybe, he said women already have the confidence, but are they given the space to ensure their genuine participation, not on tokenism? I also learned from Adaman today, the entire structure of the military government in Guinea, just 7 places, you know, were allocated to women. So I would like to say thank you. I know we had a lot of people participating from the beginning. According to according to Samuel Jacobs, at one point in time, we had like 92 persons that were viewing through the Vera platform. Let me say thank you to Pamilia Pave, Anthony Pave, Honorable Rebecca Kamara. I believe she probably gone because she said she was going outside to meet a crowd that was before her office house. I also want to say thank you to Adama. Adama, trust me, the English was we were able to understand, yeah, what you were saying, and I want to thank you and all of you taking time off your business schedule. Today is Saturday, but you decided to be here because for me, it represents your own commitment to women participation. Sammy, do you want to say anything before we wrap up?
No, I just want to thank all of you, like Richelieu said, for your time. It's indeed a pleasure to spend some time with all of you as we do this program. I will highly recommend, if that works within Richelieu's time space, that maybe we can put a second program together before the elections in Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Guinea. Probably Guinea is next year, but before Sierra Leone and Liberia, so we can give other additional platform for people to engage and then to encourage more women to participate, how they call it, in the local elections in these countries. And if possible, we can also affiliate with the Liberian Sierra Leoneans in the diaspora to have a joint interaction, especially women in politics, Liberian Sierra Leonean descents in the US or in the UK who are participating in international politics can bring some level of inspiration into these conversations. But overall, it was a beautiful moment, and I thank all of you for your time. And Richelieu, I'll hand over back to you.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Samuel Jacobs, former representative of the West African Youth Network to ECOWAS. I'm happy that you could help me to organize this. I have known Sammy since 2005. He's someone who is on the move. He's the author of many, many books. When I met him, he had not written his first book, any book at that time, but now he has just become a renowned author. So Sammy, I want to say thank you very much for helping to put this whole program together. And we're also looking forward to inviting you to Liberia in August, like I was saying to you, to see how best we can put the necessary resources and strategies together to practicalize all that have been said here. You know, bringing women face to face, politicians, women, civil society activists, to be able to brainstorm, you know, and be able to not just talk it, but get women off the stand and onto the pitch as active player. So if we have to amplify women's voices, we have to work with the women. And I want to thank all of you also. I see there are cross section of people who will be running in the election in Sierra Leone and Liberia, who was part and parcel of this program. I also see civil society activists. You know, I see a representative from the European Union, the general office in Liberia. So I want to say thank you. And Sammy, if you don't have anything to say, I'll just say we can wrap this out. But in a special way, I want to say thank you to Anthony Pavey, Adaman, Sila, Dockett, she's married now, and then also to Honorable Rebecca Ye Kamara.
Awesome, awesome. Irishili, before you go, I wanted to let Attorney Pamela know that I have been a secret admirer. I have looked at her work in different contexts. I have researched a bit about her, and I'm very excited to be on the same platform with her. Hopefully, I will see her when I am in Liberia in August, God willing. So keep up the good work. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I wish you all the best and have a blessed time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye, guys.